For this lesson, we are going to tackle about the earliest forms of arts and crafts in West Asia. This includes some of the West Asian art legacies in Mesopotamian civilization. This lesson also covers some of the selected art forms in Iran, Saudi Arabia, and Turkey, which shows its diverse, rich culture. West Asian art goes back to the earliest presence of people in West Asia in the form of little stone or clay fertile figures. Around 9000 BC, they were carving all sorts of animal figures on the stone which had symbolic spiritual meaning. By 7000 BC, in the first little settled towns, people were making masks and statues of people. It is commonly made from gypsum plaster, a white cementing material made by partial or complete dehydration of the mineral gypsum, and reeds, a tall, slender-leaved plant of the grass family, with tar eyes. Although it isn't life-sized, it is about 3 feet tall. Statue making has been part of their ancient culture. By the beginning of Bronze Age, about 3000 BC, the Sumerians, a group of people living in Mesopotamia, were making much more complex statues. Because there is not much good stone in Mesopotamia, and also has a terrible shortage of wood, the Sumerians made most of their statues out of lumps of clay. That's why their statues tend to be roundish. Around 2500 BC, people in Mesopotamia invented a system of writing called cuneiform. By this time, sculptors were willing to have human beings on their stone carvings, and with that, they begin to get representations of actual historical events, mainly war victories. The kings set these up in the temples to thank the god for helping out and to show how powerful the king and the gods were. One example is the vulture stele, as shown on the slide. Under the Babylonian rule, around 1700 BC, you still see those rounded West Asian forms, even though these statues were made out of stone. By now, it has become part of the way people think about their bodies and about the world in general. After the Dark Ages, by around 1000 BC, the Assyrians became the biggest powerful civilization in West Asia, and they created many significant works of art. They even used their artworks to frighten their enemies. Around 600 BC, the Assyrian Empire collapsed. The Babylonians took over again, and they wanted to exhibit how traditional they were and how they were restoring the past, and so they went back to clay art sculptures. This is made by making a lot of molded clay bricks and painting them in varied colors and creating pictures. By the time Persians took over the Babylonians, they brought with them some Assyrian art ideas and incorporated some Babylonian ones. Their art carvings also have the influence of the Greeks and East Asians. These are evident in their relief carvings. During 200 CE, the Parthians were taken over by the Sasanians, who continued artwork in most same manner. Finally, the whole was taken over by the Islamic Empire during 600 CE. Now, here is a timeline that would summarize the ancient civilization that took over West Asia and that had brought so much development in their arts. In prehistoric era, during the time of Stone Age around 9000 to 7000 BCE, stone or clay figures like masks, pottery, and statues were the earliest forms of art. When civilization started to arise around 3000 BCE, like Sumerians, rounded clay figure statues were very common. During the time of Babylonians, around 1700 BCE, statues were still rounded but made with stones. When Assyrians dominated the Mesopotamia around 1000 BCE, they had so much contribution in arts, specifically when in terms of using artwork to frighten enemies. When Babylonians took over again around 600 BCE, they went back to clay art sculptures to show how traditional they were. But when Persian arrives around 539 BCE, they had brought Greek and East Asian influence, but still incorporating both Assyrian and Babylonian arts, and still continues during the Sasanian reign, but everything had changed after Islamic Empire dominated. Now, I will be discussing some of the notable art forms around West Asia. These art forms are representations of the different cultural background of West Asia's history. The art and heritage of Iran is undeniably one of the richest in the history of the world. It encompasses many disciplines like architecture, painting, weaving, pottery, calligraphy, metalwork, and stone masonry. Even nowadays, their sense of art is still vibrant. In Iran, during the Qajar era, coffee house painting emerged. This form of art exhibited with some combination of European style with a mix of Iranian religion and national myths. In coffee houses, where people gather around, painting of illiterate artists was a way of taking influence from common naturalism that time, or a basis for public arts traditions. But with the improvement of home narrative systems, radio and TV, as well as movies and modern restaurants and coffee shops, traditional coffee shops became vanished gradually in big cities in 1970. Pottery and ceramics in Persia, now called as Iran, is a craft that has a very long history. Throughout centuries, since the early Stone Age, functional pottery ware has been created in various forms all over the world, made and designed by many cultures. As a result, Persian potters developed their work to perfection. They responded to cultural changes and adopted many new ideas as part of their style. From the simple decoration of geometric figures or patterns to the application of animal figures, and from the discovery of glazed and unglazed pottery with gray or red wares. Another rich art and culture in West Asia is in Saudi Arabia, which has been shaped and rooted by its Islamic heritage, historical roles, and traditions. The society of Saudi has tremendous developments over these past decades. They have been taken their values, customs, hospitality, even their manner of dressing, and adapted them to the modern world. The Prophet's Mosque in Medina is the second largest mosque in the world. It is the home of Muhammad, the founder of Islam and the proclaimer of the Quran, and his family was a simple structure made of raw brick that opened on an enclosed courtyard where people gathered to hear him. In the year 706, Caliph al-Walid I destroyed the original brick buildings and created a new mosque on the site, which also contains the tomb of Muhammad. Still in Saudi Arabia, we have the Great Mosque of Mecca, also called as Al-Masjid al-Haram. It is the holiest shrine in Islam and the primary destination of the Hajj pilgrimage. Hajj is a pilgrimage to Mecca, and all Muslims who are physically able must make this journey once in a lifetime. The mosque, which comprises a rectangular central courtyard surrounded by covered prayer areas, is the site of several pilgrimage rituals. When Muslims pray, they face the Kaaba at the central courtyard. A Kaaba is a house of mysterious black stone and also became a Muslim relic in the time of the Prophet Muhammad. Next is Turkey. This country is a parliament republic largely located in Western Asia and some portions in the southern part of Europe. The Turkish art reflects to all works of visual art originating from the geographical area of what is present-day Turkey since the arrival of the Turks in the Middle Ages. The Turkish palaces, mosques, and mausoleums are highly influenced by the Ottoman styles and architectures, with a touch of Islamic and European taste. One that shows these qualities are the following. The Dolmabahce Palace. This palace comes from the Turkish word Dulma, meaning field, and Bache, meaning garden. Together in English, it's field in garden. It was built in the 19th century and one of the most glamorous palaces in the world. It was the administrative center of the late Ottoman Empire that was commissioned by Sultan Abdulmajid, the 31st Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. The construction cost 5 million Ottoman gold lira or 35 tons of gold, and today the rough estimation cost of the palace is $1.5 billion. Another notable art form in Turkey is called Ebru. It is a Turkish technique of paper marbling. It is an art of creating colorful patterns by sprinkling and brushing color pigments on a pan of oily water, and then transforming this pattern to a paper. It was believed to be invented in the 19th century Turkestan and then spread to China, India, and Persia and Anatolia. Artists used marbling to decorate books, imperial decrees, official correspondence, and documents. Thus, this form of paper marbling technique had a significant importance in Islamic art. West Asia's history has tremendous amount of interchanged cultural group of people and different cultural backgrounds. This took place because of the close geographical location between Europe and Asia and between the different religious beliefs of Islam, Buddhism, and Christianity. This answers why West Asia has rich and diverse art forms.